My father's dead. My own sister tried to kill me.
So why'd you come back to me, Vic?
I want a new life. I want out of this fucking game.
Now, if we've learned one thing over these past few seasons, it's that the writers do love to throw us twists and turns, and so nothing is ever as it seems in the Power universe. Now, in 4 Season 2, the line between friend and foe is often blurred, and alliances are constantly shifting in the windy city of Chicago, just like we've seen in New York. And so could we be in for yet another twist? So in today's video, we will be looking at a different perspective. We're going to be exploring the theory of whether Vic Flynn could actually help Tommy and the CBI rather than snitch. So stick with this video till the end, because I will be painting the picture of a theory that will challenge our perceptions of Vic Flynn. Instead of just calling him a rat, we have to peel back the layers, understand what pushed him to turning to Stacey Marks, what he's been through, specifically Gloria's death, and whether or not he'll actually go ahead with being a snitch. As always, this video will also take into consideration the evidence, facts, and findings, and also the parallels that we have seen throughout the Power universe, which I do think is a great place to start. In Power, Tommy faced an overwhelming amount of heartbreak, loss, and morally challenging situations, some even very similar to Vic in Force. He had a tumultuous relationship with Holly, who went behind his back on more than one occasion, which also led to a tragic death that left Tommy emotionally scarred for life. He's had to bury several loved ones and was once in a similar position to where Vic found himself at the beginning of Season 2. But one of the most morally complex and emotional taxing moments of his journey so far is killing his own father. Again, very similar to Vic, who just killed his. The decision to take his father's life was one which he felt as if he had to take, which stemmed from Tony Teresi working with law enforcement, which in Tommy's eyes is a straight ticket to power hell. So albeit these are two characters with many differences, there certainly are some parallels, which is why I think Tommy will probably be the only person who understands what he's going through. But one thing Tommy hates is a snitch, but Vic only agreed to working with Stacey Marks because he wants to make his sister suffer. He questioned Claudia and Doyle around the Dublin hitters turning up earlier than expected, but it was a deliberate ploy from Claudia to have Vic taken off the chessboard so she could become the queen. That was because Doyle made it clear Vic was to succeed his father. Now, just to give this some more background and context, Lisa Domain, who was the director of episode 5, said this in regards to Claudia and the Flynn organization. Claudia's ambition is blind. I think she is formidable in her ambition. She is ruthless. How many people has she killed? Do not cross Claudia. She's dangerous. I think she thinks she can take over and be the queen pin because Vic doesn't want it. She's as good as smart as running the business because she's run the books for years. I think she truly believes she can do it. And basically that she could convince Dublin.
I should have stayed walking with your sister, because she's got a fucking heart.
Now, it was a risky move, and if it paid off, it would have been a very well orchestrated plan. The problem with this plan was, she was heavily reliant on the apocalypse from Dublin, which even she knew wasn't capable of getting the job done. She said it best herself. She heard it before with the 4 Horsemen, and in a street and drug game, if you want shit done the right way, sometimes you have to do it yourself. So it didn't go the way she planned. And the minute she killed Doyle, it just confirmed Vic's suspicions. He knew it was his sister.
That's why we can't work together. Just like him.
Vic's reasons for going to Stacey Marks is because he wants Claudia to suffer, and he also wants out the game. He wants to put his sister behind bars because that's a punishment Claudia could never fathom. So let's take it down memory lane and explore the reason why he would rather send Claudia to prison than give her a quick death. Now, Ghost in Power had been in uncomfortable situations before, but his time in jail during Season 4 brought forth his vulnerability in an unfamiliar and an uncomfortable environment. For a man who strived to be in constant control over his surroundings and his people, being locked up in a prison cell challenged his sense of power. He was stripped of his usual influence and resources. He had to adapt to a system which is governed by different rules. Everything was controlled from the time you wake up to the moment you go to sleep. Arguably, the biggest change was the fact his usual methods of manipulation and control were limited within the prison walls. Being in prison also forces you to confront your own inner demons and reflect on your past actions, so it provides you with a rare opportunity to confront the consequences of your choices. We saw this for both Ghost and Tasha. Now, bringing it back to the current timeline in 4 Season 2, this is why Vic wants Claudia in prison. He wants her to suffer in the most painful way possible. Stripping Claudia of that power and control would hurt her worse than a bullet to the brain.
You're already killing him, you said it yourself. Except your way is slow and methodical. My way is swift and absolute.
Claudia said it herself. Destroying Walter Flynn's empire from the inside, which was Vic's original plan, was giving Walter Flynn a slow and painful death, but hers was quick and painless. Unfortunately for him, Stacey Marks was in no mood just to accept Claudia. She wants the entire map of Chicago because this is the biggest case of her life that can put her on the path to becoming mayor.
I'll do it.
But will he? After what he said about Claudia with how he wants her to suffer, will he really betray Tommy and work as an inside mole? Let's explore their relationship in a bit more detail, because I do think there is a case that can be made where Vic could work as a double agent for the CBI. When Tommy came to Chicago, him and Vic didn't get off to the best of starts. However, the only person who has kept it real with Vic from the jump is Tommy Egan. Let's also not forget Tommy could have easily meddled with his relationship with Gloria, but he didn't. The reason why he didn't is because he didn't want Gloria to get in the way of their business. He's also a sucker for love, and by the end of season 1, he'd come to the realization that Vic didn't want this life. He just wanted to live a life away from Chicago with the love of his life. He gave keys to a clean car and told him use the back roads, get out of Chicago with Gloria and live his life. He wanted Vic to escape and gave him every single opportunity to do so. Now the bottom line is Tommy was nothing but 100 with Vic from the start, and he's also someone who no longer wants to be in the game. I think the biggest challenge for Vic running this business is that he doesn't want it, and if you don't have the desire, it's hard to fill those shoes. He's made it very clear, especially at the end of the episode, that he wants out. He wants to do what he promised Gloria. He never really wanted that life. I also think Vic knows not to cross Tommy, and he's very well aware of the dangers of becoming a snitch for law enforcement. So here's where it starts to get a little intriguing. The ties between Vic and Claudia are completely broken, so Vic will have no issue in telling Tommy Claudia was the one who killed Liliana, which will be the confirmation that Tommy's been looking for. But similar to what he said to Stacey Marks, it does seem like he wants Tommy to make her suffer, and no doubt, at some point he will. Although on a side note, I do think it's going to be difficult for Tommy to get to Claudia. She's a devil in a red dress, she's cunning, smart, and she will have a way of bouncing back. But that along with handing the keys to the North will be how Vic gets in with the CBI coalition. But Diamond and Tommy also know they need someone on the inside of law enforcement to stay ahead of them.
And it wouldn't hurt to have a friend in the CPD. Stay ahead of things.
Diamond's lawyer told him that the CBI were high on law enforcement's radar, and it wouldn't hurt to have friends in the CPD to keep them one move ahead. But their plan was thwarted after D-Mac killed Seamus, and so they still need someone on the inside, and so could that be Vic? Vic knows that Tommy has been 100 with him from the beginning. He'll also be aware of what Tommy's capable of and what happens to snitches in this unforgiving world. So could this actually be one way for Tommy and Diamond to stay ahead of law enforcement, and a way for Vic to redeem himself? If he does help Tommy and Diamond, by the end of it all, you can see Tommy then helping him escape to live a new life, just like he wants. But if he goes down the other road of snitching on Tommy, then we all know what comes next. Christmas will be cancelled on Vic Flynn. So what does Vic do? Does he help Stacey Marks by bringing down Tommy and the CBI, along with Claudia and the rest of the drug organizations? Or will Vic actually keep it real with Tommy and work as a double agent to help them beat law enforcement? This takes me full circle back to the start of this video. Nothing is as it seems in the Power universe, and I do feel another twist could be on its way, with this potentially being one of them. Now, away from Vic's moves, they are going to have to deal with the aftermath of Walter Flynn's death, and that potentially means a funeral, and maybe an introduction to Walter Flynn's brother.
Left me and my brother on the streets of Glasgow. Two Belfast boys. And Catholics.
This is where we learn Walter Flynn does have a brother, so if Dublin want a male to take over if something happens to Vic, whether he dies or leaves, there is another Flynn in the wings. Claudia and Vic will also have to answer for Brendan Doyle's death, because he was the link between them and Dublin. So what happens after Doyle's death? So are they safe from Dublin? That's the thing about power and force, no one can say. And if this episode doesn't demonstrate that, I don't know what episode does. The fact that Walter Flynn is taken out in episode 5, no one is safe in this world.